Hey everybody, this is Laravel DFW for October 2015. And it just said live, so I'll say hello again. So October 2015, Laravel DFW. So welcome. This is the monthly meetup in Dallas, Fort Worth. We're in Texas. Our normal schedule is that we alternate monthly, meeting either online or in person. This month is online. We do the online ones for presentations because it's just way easier to do screen shares and have speakers give talks. So 2 months ago we had Daniel Puente talk about Laravel 5.1, which is great. Last month we met in Euless and had some great Mexican food, great fajitas, and talked about some great projects that we're working on. I still need to actually get a demo of one of them, but there's some great things being built by Laravel. When we meet online, we host a speaker who presents and teaches on Laravel and what they're doing. We also answer any questions that you might have. So please submit them. Just go to laraveldfw.com and there's a button there that says Ask a Question. It's super easy. Fill out the form and we'll answer it. You can also tweet at us at LaravelDFW on Twitter. So today I'm excited. Seth, Oz, and I are going to share a recent project that we completed for the Laravel DFW website, which you can see on laraveldfw.com. It's super, 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 super simple. It's like a one-page app, like immensely simple. But I think it's a great opportunity for people who don't know anything about Laravel to just kind of see some really basic things and see how it doesn't have to be this crazy app. Like Laravel is useful in a ton of ways, even down to just doing like a one-pager for our user group. So the site still looks the same. We've had the site for I think over a year now, and so I originally built that just to kind of tell people about what we were doing each month. But we did a few behind-the-scenes upgrades last month, and it's great. Part of it was upgrading to Laravel 5.1, and so I'm excited about that. So we're just going to dive right into the talk. Again, please ask questions. LaravelDFW.com, hit the button. It'll be great. So let's dive in. So first, let's introduce ourselves. So with me today are Seth and Oz. Guys, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and your relation to Laravel?
You go first, Oz.
Sure. So I love Laravel, and recently I've been using it in combination with Angular, uh, and I work at Samoon currently, but I'm gonna join MusicBet and start working there, and they use Laravel too, and AWS and all that stuff. So yeah, I love it.
Cool. All right. So Seth, what about you?
Named Seth, aka Freshy Seth, out there online, GitHub. You can find me. Um, I've been doing PHP. I started dabbling with it back in version 3, and off and on again. And I didn't even know what development really was when I first started working with PHP. I just couldn't figure out the difference between a $150 a month hosted site and a $5 a month hosted site. And when you get into it, it's open source, and PHP was the go-to. So I started learning it. Over the years, I've matured my development knowledge, but got burnt out on code. I'm now a development manager and work with developers. I don't actually write a lot of code myself. But after taking a break from writing code and deciding I wanted to get back into it, Zen Framework was the obvious choice. I was Zen certified for 4, and was just going to jump back into that. And man, it was the biggest struggle and just pain in the rear to try and get anything done with that framework. And a buddy of mine told me I need to take a look at Laravel. And from literally minute 1, just looking at the docs, I knew that I had found something that I was going to enjoy working with, and it's been that same experience all the way through. But really, what I think it makes Laravel the best is the community and the shared desire for everybody that's part of the Laravel community to really up their game, not just in PHP, but in development in general. And out there in the community of development, it's easy to get a bad rap as a PHP developer. You know, a lot of snotty people out there in Java and Ruby and whatnot with more mature programming languages. But PHP has come a long way and is fantastic. And I think Laravel has done a really great job of not only flexing those new functionalities and components of PHP, but also developing a community of people who want to do better. And I think it's single-handedly changing the face of what people think of PHP developers and development. So that's what brought me to this whole organization and or this meetup. And I would totally like to say, you know, if you're watching this, if you're a part of the meetup group, we really appreciate it, because again, I think that's what makes the difference are the artisans who want to participate in what we're doing here to make developers better developers.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all of that. So my name's Tanner. I'm one of the organizers of Laravel DFW. Oz and Seth, if you haven't met them before, I was previously the only organizer, and Oz and Seth joined a couple of months ago, and it's been fantastic. I'm super glad they're helping out, and there's going to be more ways for a bunch of other people to get involved too. So, but my name's Tanner, so I co-organize here. I also am the director of product at MusicBed and Film Supply. You can put .coms at the end of both of those to check them out, but MusicBed and Film Supply. And so we work with Laravel on a day-to-day basis. Pretty much all of our apps are built on Laravel or have some sort of API that's built on Laravel. It's been great. So I'm excited to dive into today's thing. Sorry if you were watching earlier, Hangouts is funny sometimes, and I had like selected Oz the whole time, but it should switch now based on who's talking. Thanks for your patience on that. So, into the specifics, what we're going to talk about, there's three things. So the first one is we updated the application, again, LaravelDFW.com, that app, from 4.2 to Laravel 5.1. The second thing is we swapped our host management to a Forge server. It was just like on this really simple hosted thing just because it was easy and, you know, whatever, but it was like, hey, let's do it since we're all co-organizing it. Let's create a way for us all to actually manage this and deploy things when we need to. So Forge is the way to go. We all have access to it, and there's some amazing goodies that Forge has, like editing the environment variable and quick deploying and all sorts of stuff that's super handy. The last and third thing is open sourcing the site on GitHub. So if you go to Laravel DFW/Laravel DFW on GitHub, you will see the site, the source code of the site. We don't like integrate with Stripe or anything, so we don't have any crazy keys, no commits of config files. But you shouldn't do that anyways because we have environment variables. But anyways, you can go check it out, and we'll talk a little bit more of why you should check it out later. So we want to talk about what we're going to do next with the site. We want to do some integrations with it, and hopefully this is like a teaching moment for those of you who haven't seen a Laravel app in the wild. While it's super simple, again, it's one page, there's one blade view, it does touch a lot of production cases on how to collaborate with people, how to use Forge, how a project's goals dictate how it eventually gets built. So you'll probably pick up a few tips if you are just getting started. Let me say Forge is amazing. If you aren't already using it, listen a little bit because it can save you a bunch of time. I know Oz started using it on some of his sites that he's working on, you know, his day job, and I know that he is ecstatic about it too. So Taylor Otwell, who created Laravel, also manages and created Forge, and so he actually gave us a code for your use, and so you'll get 3 months free just by listening to this Laravel DFW group. So if you look down there in the description of this stream, there's a link there. Just click it. You can register, get 3 months free, and we'll talk more about, like, it's like 10 to 20 bucks a month normally, but it saves so much time and it's so easy. But 3 months free. If you already have a Forge account, just email us at talk@laraveldfw.com, and we can still get you set up, and Taylor can like tack on 3 months for free onto your thing. So let's do it. Let's talk about this stuff. Ask questions. LaravelDFW.com. Seth, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I did want to ask one question though. Does that coupon have a limited number of uses, or will expire?
I don't have any restrictions on it. I mean, I didn't set it up, but there wasn't any restrictions given to me, so it should just work. And I mean, maybe if you're like 6 months from now, it might be gone. But let's just say, hey, for the next like at least 7 days, maybe 30 days, you can be positive. If you click the link, it'll work.
If you do it now, you know it'll work.
If you do it later, it might still work. Hey, if you're visiting from the year 2018 and you're still using Laravel 5.1, it's probably like Laravel 5.7 by now. So, hey, I would share your screen with us, future watchers, because I want to see what it looks like. But the link might not work, but who knows? Maybe machines have taken over the world. Forge is an AI that's fully conscious and aware of itself, and it's just managing all of its servers.
That's why it's so good.
So, all right. Well, Seth.
All right, cool. So, taking a look at my screen here, what you'll see is the basic installation instructions for 5.1 install. We're over here on 5.1. We're not going to cover that. There is a recording on our channel here for what Daniel Puente presented on doing a Laravel 5 app, and that is fantastic. I really suggest that you go give that a watch if you've not stood up a 5 app. But these are the basic instructions that we followed to create the 5. So the upgrade, because our site was really simple, was nothing more than actually just doing a new fresh install of 5.1 and importing some of those files over into our new 5.1 from the 4.2. So if you take a look at my screen here, the simplicity of this site cannot be overstated. And so as Tanner had mentioned, the cool thing about this is how can we have a website at LaravelDFW.com if we don't actually use Laravel for that site? So there's motivation number one. We don't need it to do a whole lot, so making it simple. It could just be a simple HTML site, but we do know that there's things we want to do to this site moving forward, and already having the foundational Laravel there available is good to know that we can move this thing forward if we decide to add users, decide to add authentication authorization, if we want to integrate, if we want to do some advanced stuff with this, we can, and we don't have to go to the trouble of moving anything around. We've already got the undergirding that we need to do it. So the real magic of the LaravelDFW.com website is nothing more than a basic route file and some blade templates. So default 5.1 install, you'll see the folder structure there is just basically your Laravel install that you would normally see with a 5 app. And we have a routes file here that basically creates a data array on the root get call and sets some values in that array for some keys that we end up using in the blade template. And so just real simple, set up some keys here, assign some values to them. If the event is online, we set that to true. If it's not, we set it to false. We'll provide location information if we need it, and that'll end up getting mapped on the front page for face-to-face events that we do, which next month our meetup will be a local face-to-face, which we usually do somewhere between Dallas and Fort Worth in kind of the mid-cities area to make it easy for people from either side of the Metroplex to come and participate. So we encourage you to come out to that. And we will be setting online to false when we do that, and now you know. And you just basically pass that into a home view that we've got there with the variables going to be array available to us. It's data. So if we take a look at the default blade, it's what you'd expect. We have under layouts and views, which is under the resources directory, a default blade template that gives us a basic HTML5 boilerplate. We yield out the title. We yield out any header stuff that you do. We yield out content, which is the crux of everything you see on the site. Then we actually include some jQuery stuff, Bootstrap stuff in order to make things look good, and a little Google Analytics. Yes, we are tracking you. So then in the home blade is where data is going to be coming in, because we did the compacted data to the return view of home, and here we have extending the default layout In the head section, we yield. If we know that we're going to be online, we know that we're going to, if we know we're not going to be online, we know that we're going to need a Google map. So at that point, we load the Maps API. So right now, if you go hit the website, we're not going to encumber your network transfer from the site to include the Google API for mapping when there's not going to be any map on there. So we are able to yield that out to the head if we know that we need a map. And then you've got your content section here, which is the same pretty much every week or every month that we do. And then you get down into the area where you actually have some of your variables here. So we have speaker image, which defaults to an image if we don't actually have somebody doing it. We have the meetup date, presentation title. Let me collapse that there so we can see a little bit more here. Who's presenting it? If we're doing any giveaways, other than coupon codes, which is, like Tanner said, is down there in the link on this YouTube broadcast. And then the ability to ask and watch. We render out some buttons there, which you'll see if you go to laraveldfw.com right now. You will actually see all of this in action. So that's the basics of what we needed to do, is move a routes file that we had and move these two templates. And what I really want to highlight here is two things. One, yeah, we're co-organizers of Laravel DFW. That doesn't carry any weight in and of itself. Laravel is Laravel, and it's an open community, and you have different skill sets and different talents there. The cool thing about Laravel is that you can get an app in production that does something very simple, and if all you know how to do is set up an array with some key value pairs that get passed into a view, then you can have a site that presents information, gives somebody a Google map, and does basic stuff. If you take a look at our routes file, we also have down here a very simple redirect implementation where if you want to ask a question, it's just literally /ask, and we just redirect you away from the site off to a Typeform form. And if you want to see the live broadcast, we just drop in there this YouTube broadcast every time we generate one in order to do this meeting. And if we want to route away for RSVPs, we kick you off to our meetup site so that you can say you're going to participate in this. So really, really simple, really, really straightforward. It doesn't have to be incredibly complicated. We've got no interfaces in here. We've got no repositories in here. We've got none of that stuff that you see in the world of Laravel, which is fantastic. But I remember watching something on Laracast where Jeffrey Way mentioned, do it the way you know to do it. Laravel makes it very easy for you to do that. Do it the way that you know to do it. The framework is going to take care of you. Make sure you're not doing anything that's going to hurt you or cause harm. But as you begin to dig into Laravel, you can start to then abstract out, start making things more complex, start adding things to it. And that gives you the ability to learn the framework over time, as well as not have to worry about struggling with the implementation or struggling with some of the concepts of abstracts, interfaces, traits, things that make for really good programming. You don't need that for everything. You can put a Laravel site out there in production that's simple, clean, and straightforward. And that's exactly what we, as the organizers of Laravel DFW, have done. And hopefully we'll begin to build on that.
Yeah, so if I can add anything to what you were saying, Seth, is, give me one sec, there we go, is that there are a couple of things like migrating to Laravel 5.1, because the original site was built in 4.2. And so with that, let me just share a couple of things, because I just upgraded another site from 4.2 to 5.1, and especially with like Blade stuff, there were some upgrades. I know that like the collections, that changed where it would output an array if you did like the lists method instead of a collection. So there's a couple of things. Let me just share Sublime Text. And here we go. So the first one was all the brackets. So originally, and I'm sure, Seth, you probably did all of this. There's just like one page on our site, but a couple of things that are a little bit crazy, but end up being okay, is that the echo syntax changed. So originally, double curly braces were how to echo out things unescaped, and then if you wanted to escape it, like if it was user data, then you would do a triple curly brace. But now in Laravel 5 and 5.1, the double curly brace actually escapes it, and if you want to not have it escaped, then you have to use these things with, I'm not actually sure if there's a name for them, but just exclamation points. I wonder if there's like a cool, I don't know, they have like the hash bang in Angular and stuff, which
I think
is
you
like in
can
the URL.
call them bangs.
Bangs, yeah. But okay, so now they're on the right line. So this is escaped, or unescaped, sorry, in Laravel 4.2. This is unescaped in 5.1. This is, and this is the regular one. So by default, it's going to escape it for you, which is great. Except whenever you do want to do like this, like if you want to say, oh yeah, I want to throw in like, I don't know, like a default thing, or even like let's say that you use the Laravel Collective packages. So if you haven't checked out them, check out Laravel Collective. But they have an HTML package. So you have like this HTML class. So if you want to do like, oh yeah, let me just throw out HTML style or something, and then like style.css. Like what I would expect that to do is, hey, just put in like a public link, a normal style tag right there. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about where it is because it's just going to go look in the public directory. And maybe you do like, oh, it's in CSS. Well, if you don't use the bangs, it's going to actually like spit this out, which isn't what you want. So anyways, that's just one quick tip for upgrading, especially with like blade stuff that's kind of persnickety. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful to you guys. So ask any questions about upgrading. I'm going to switch over and talk a little bit about Forge. So part of what we did was I'm trying to think what I was doing at the time. I think I was using Envoy maybe, or I might have just been going into the server and doing a Git pull on the old server. Anyways, that was previous, and so we're like, hey, we really need to make this better, making sure everybody can access it, do all the stuff, do all the things. And so Forge is a great solution for that. So let me just share my screen again. This time I'll share the whole thing here. And what you'll find is that you can do a ton of stuff with Forge. So first of all, if you go to forge.laravel.com, you'll find a great marketing page. You can read about some of what it does, and you can sign in or start a trial. Again, click the link below to get 3 months free, but you basically just put in your details. The two options are Forge and Forge Plus. Forge is $10 a month, Forge Plus is $20 a month. Forge Plus allows you to do teammates and stuff. So we actually use Forge Plus. I'll show you that in a second of how that works, but it's really great. So you get a 5-day free trial, but if you use the link below, you'll get 3 months free. So let's say you already created your account. So this is what it looks like when you log in. You'll see your account details, and you'll see create a server if you want to create a new one. I currently only have DigitalOcean set up in Forge, but there are several providers. I want to say, if we go to my account, let's see, server providers, there you go. So you would just select which one you want to set up, put in the different keys that you need to do. Linode, DigitalOcean, DigitalOcean 2.0, or even Amazon, and it'll let you do it. The really cool thing, though, is you don't even have to use one of those providers. You can do a custom VPS. If you do that, you need to be running Ubuntu 14.04, but it'll allow you to run it on any VPS. I think it has like a little bash script that you run or something that just kind of allocates things so Forge can access what it needs to access. But if you want to go the easy way, just set up DigitalOcean, and then I only have one credential set. Give the thing a name, the server a name, choose what level you want to throw up there. It'll give you the pricing, which region you want in, and the database name. And then you have all of this stuff that you can install, including PHP 7, which is cool since it's in beta. You can also install HHVM and some other stuff. So I have a couple here. Tall Galaxy is my random server. That's just mine. And then I have this Laravel DFW server. So let's click on the servers, because these are already created. So this is how you create one. These are already created. So I'll click Manage. Boom, here's the server details. And there's the domain that we have installed on there. And you can see it actually has a GitHub connection. So if I wanted to add another site within the server, you can see that they have the Sites tab. So you can add a site right here. You can add different SSH keys. You can add monitoring like New Relic or Papertrail or Understand.io, which you should check out Understand.io. A friend of mine created it. It's pretty cool. But it allows you to get logs. It's similar to Papertrail, and it makes it super easy to search those because it just pulls it out into this app so that you can actually give other people access to. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. But you can connect up with those really easily. So there's only one site on here, Laravel DFW, so I'm going to manage that. So I go here. So now I'm inside the site. So I've gone to the server, gone to the site, kind of a hierarchy there. And these are the options we have for the site. We have the app that's running. So whenever you have a fresh site, this isn't here by default. There's a screen here that allows you to set up a GitHub connection, and you can tell it which repository you want to pull from. So again, we pull from Laravel DFW / Laravel DFW. And this is a source code. So as long as you have SSH keys set up and have access to that repository, you can pull it in, and you just specify which branch you want to keep up to date with. You also have a deployment trigger URL, so you can use like Travis CI, or I don't know, you could just do whatever you want with that link. You can also set up Slack integration and HipChat integration. We actually have Slack integration set up, so you'll see that as well in a little bit. You can edit your deployments. So the really great thing about Forge is that it handles deployments. So it's connected to our GitHub repository, and whenever we push up to master, so if I just make a commit, let me jump over to Tower. So if I'm inside of Tower, and it always wants to update right when you're in a presentation, I don't have anything in here, but if I was to edit something, I would just push up, and there you go, it would push, and whenever it gets to GitHub, Forge is going to know it. And if you have quick deploy enabled, which we do, this would disable it. I guess I can disable it just so you see. So now it's disabled. Now it's enabled. So it's going to detect that, and then this little green button here is going to change from deploy now to queuing, deploying, done, and it'll come back to deploy now. So it's super cool. I think they use Angular on the site. Yeah, they do. To have the state just refresh without just right on the page using some JavaScript. So it'll quick deploy. So all you have to do is just push up, and then boom, it'll deploy it within about 30 seconds or less, really. Sometimes it's just like 5 seconds. If you want to manually deploy, you can either turn off quick deploy, or you can just and you can do it manually. Or even if you have this set up, you could still just click this button and it'll deploy. So I think it should be fine just to click it, but this is what it looks like, queued for deployment, deploying. There's no changes, so it's not really going to affect anything. And then once it's done, it'll just switch back to the deploy button. We'll give it a second. There we go. Deployed some fresh code. So let me jump over to our Laravel DFW Slack. And so inside of General, we just have it set up to pop in here and tell us when stuff has happened. So Seth created the last commit, so it's telling us that his last stuff is up. And so we have it tagged as Laravel Forge. Here's the commit, so we can click on it and go see what it was. Oh, cool, he changed the redirect for RSVP to be this month's event on Meetup. That's pretty awesome. And then it gives them commit message as well, right here as well. So that's pretty cool. Let me think if there's anything else on this screen. The only other thing that I might share is just SSL certificates. Forge makes it super easy to install SSL certificates. You can create the CSR right here. You can install an existing certificate if you already have one ready. The CSR is what you would need to submit to your certificate authority, like Namecheap or GoDaddy or whoever it is that you're going to purchase your SSL through. You can create it here. So Forge just does a ton. I mean, check that out. SSLs, domains, GitHubs, deployments, pushing to Slack whenever deployments happen, hooking up with Understand. And then also, if you have your env file, which with Laravel 5, that's there, you can edit it. I don't actually know if we have. Oh, there are stuff. Okay, don't look at the app key. We'll change it later. But that's you can edit your environment variables right there. So your production keys can be right there on the server, and then you can give access to the people who need access to it to deploy and to edit those things. So last thing that I'd like to share are recipes. There's some recipes there for things that you can happen whenever you deploy. So for instance, if we want to edit our deploy script, we can just click right here, and there it is, just bash scripts. So you can make this do whatever you want. So you can see whenever it does this, it goes into this laraveldfw.com directory, it does a git pull on master, it does a composer install, and it will migrate any database migrations that we have. So you can have it do a bunch of other stuff, like if you say run gulp on your server to compile everything for your JavaScript. If you don't do that locally, you could have that run here so that it runs whenever you deploy, and all of your new front-end changes would then be compiled, like if you're building an app with Angular or something like that. So that's great. And then finally, the My Circles. This is kind of the power of the whole team thing. So again, if you get Forge Plus, you can invite people to circles. So what I did is I created a circle called Laravel DFW. Inside of it, I said, hey, which server am I going to give them access to? Well, the Laravel DFW server, and then I just shoot off some emails to each person, so Oz and Seth, and now they have access to that server. So, I mean, it's perfect, because whenever we need to do something, anybody can do it. Okay, I know I said that was the last thing, but there's actually one more thing, because I forgot about it. There's also a bunch of cool buttons down here to restart services or stop services. So let's say you're like, man, like MySQL's in a loop, I don't know what's going on, let's just do a quick few tests, let's just reboot MySQL, just see if that helps. Well, boom, you're done. You didn't have to like open your terminal or anything, just boom, you're done. Or if you need to restart Nginx because maybe you need your, I don't know, maybe you need some variables to respawn, or maybe you need to reboot because you installed something that requires Nginx to restart. Well, you can just reload Nginx right there. Or you can reload the whole server if you want. It's really great. So yeah, I mean those are the basics about Forge. Again, you should definitely give it a try. It's been super helpful for us, and I mean we're pretty excited about what it's been able to do for us. So, do you guys have any comments on any of that, Seth or Oz? I know that you guys have just gotten started with it.
Oh, I just have a comment, and it's I love it, and it's for those of you who haven't used it yet. Once you start using it, you're gonna realize like why wasn't I using this before? And it's so easy to get used to, like every single thing. And every single thing that's in there, like you said, Tanner, it does a lot for you. And at first I just set up a server, but I didn't really use the other things like the understanding.io and that sort of thing. But eventually you're like, oh, I can. It's just awesome. It saves you so much time that really so much worth it. What you pay for it's nothing compared to the time it saves you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if you're like, oh, I don't think I can qualify the $10 or $20 a month that's gonna cost. I mean, really, think of your hourly rate, which is probably as like a software engineer or a web developer is several times that per hour. So if Forge saves you 1 hour of work per month, but again, that's not really true because your hourly rate is more than $10 an hour, I'm sure. So let's say it saves you 15 minutes of work or 30 minutes of work or whatever it is. Think of that. Like if you're just able to decrease the amount of time that you spend doing these things, these repetitious, just tedious things. Oz made a great joke earlier. I think it's been kind of tweeted out a lot of times, but it's like your own personal DevOps guy that's can work on your servers and do these things for you, and it just makes it way easier. So definitely think about it in terms of a cost-benefit analysis because there's a lot of benefit that it can bring. So
I want to add to that. I think that the alternative to something like that is your own implementation. And not only do you have to do the work in order to deploy your code, you also save time having to maintain any changes to that process. Where Forge has dedicated attention to it to make sure that those processes are good to go every time Laravel changes. Anytime something is new, Forge is going to play. And you're not going to have to worry about that. You're not going to have to make tweaks to your deploy scripts. You're not going to have to, fix this or that. You might have to do little things out there if you're doing custom bash scripts, stuff like that. Then you make some changes. But the other thing is you have a coupon for 3 months free. Try it out. If you don't feel like you've justified the value of $10 a month in the 3 months that you've used it, then good, bail out, and go back to what you were doing. But you probably won't. So give it a try and see what you think.
yeah, I think it's great. So I think last note I'll say on Forge is I also kind of view it as a little bit of a what's the word? Kind of like like a patronage for Laravel because I don't pay to use Laravel. It's an open source framework, but Forge is one of the major apps that supports Taylor and his work on Laravel. So to me, I'm like, hey, we use it every day at Music Bed and Film Supply. I use it every day on my own stuff. We use it on Laravel DFW, although that's kind of a circular argument. But we use it like everywhere. I do, and so I'm just like, man, sure, I'll pay $10 a month for something that helps me, that pays the original creator of Laravel, and just makes server management so much better. Um, it's just another way to look at it too. Because I'm happy to support Taylor and what he does, just because he saves me so much time. I mean, he built Laravel, he built Forge, they just launched Spark, so if you haven't checked out Spark, check that out. It's an alpha. I mean, it's just like hours upon hours upon hours saved. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, lastly, we just kind of want to talk about open sourcing the site. Pretty simple. Everybody probably uses GitHub, so if you're on GitHub, Laravel DFW / Laravel DFW is the repo. But Oz, why don't you share with us a little bit about that and kind of some hopes we have?
Sure. Let me share my screen. So we have the Laravel DFW. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So Tanner had the repo on his personal account. We created a Laravel DFW account and a repo so that we can start accepting contributions and hopefully build out features together and showcase them in the next meetup. And hopefully all of us learn something new. And we might build some integration with Meetup because right now we are having to publish the event on Meetup and the Laravel DFW website. So why not integrate it and have some sort of, maybe publishing on the site and have it create the event, or vice versa. I don't know. We'll do something really cool, and hopefully we'll showcase it soon. So to the benefit of, because we have developers of all levels, I think, viewing our group or meetup, and to the benefit of people that haven't used Git versioning or any other source sort of versioning system for keeping track of their code throughout time, because that's essentially what it does. I've known, because I used to work in the University of Massachusetts, I saw a lot of students in software engineering, and just by curiosity, I asked them every time I saw a student, hey, do you version your code? Most of them didn't. They just, they're starting out and they're experimenting with Java and different programming languages. And I suggested, you should really look into this, because it seems pretty obvious. Are huge with versioning your code. Even if you're there's some pretty obvious benefits in terms of teamwork, right? Because you push changes, you track the history of the changes you made, and then somebody else that works with you pulls those changes, and you keep in sync, and you contribute new code to it. But even if you're a sole developer of your company, you still benefit, because number one, you have a backup of your entire application elsewhere, remotely. And you, for some reason you lose your laptop, you have a backup, and you can even push to two different repository systems, have two backups. But also, we humans tend to forget stuff. What you develop today, you might not remember what the heck did I do, 6 months ago. If you're versioning your code, you can look back at the history and say, whoa, I can see how my application evolved, and the whole process I went through to get it to where it is now. And the other thing, if you make a mistake, you can roll back, to a version of the code where it was work. Or if you have an idea that's crazy and you have a perfectly working app, you can just branch out to a parallel version of your app where it has its own history, and you don't mess up your production version of your site. You can work on a branch. It's just, and I can go on and the benefits. So I just want to make sure I say that to the benefit of people that are not using versioning yet, or they don't use it as much. I tell you, I use it daily. I don't really go without pushing changes into a repository a single day. It's like it's like getting up and brushing your teeth almost. Eventually it's kind of strange because it's on the terminal. There's a bunch of UI that you can use. There's GitHub has its desktop application for Mac. There's a couple for PC. You have Tower. You have SourceTree, which also supports Mercurial. But definitely, no matter what it is, whether it's Git, whether it's Mercurial, or whatever you're using, Git is my personal favorite, and I'm sure many out there can agree. And you see all those big companies, using it. All the big open source software, Laravel, and then Angular and all that stuff. So I just gonna want to go back to what we did to open source this. So basically, pretty simple. Let me open here, and let me see. Tanner. Tanner had his the repository on his under his account, and all I did is I cloned it to my computer. So let's say, and then I pushed it to this new repository. So now I just wanna talk about how you could contribute here on Laravel DFW. There's a guide here. It's pretty nice. It has a diagram explaining, for those of you who are starting out, um, how to go from, forking to committing some changes and to making a pull request. So basically, I'm just gonna walk you through how you would do it. So I'm here on the Laravel DFW repository. I'm gonna fork it to my personal account, right? Because you are the idea is that the owners of the repository are the only ones that can approve changes. We would review the changes, right? And this is very common across companies and teams, or owners of open source projects. Like Laravel. There's Taylor is the owner of the repo. He has a couple of people that can approve pull requests. So you do have to fork it so that you can use your own copy of the repository, and you can freely push changes to it. So then, after you forked it, you just copy this the location of your repository, and I'm just gonna open the terminal and clone it. It's very easy. So I just do a git clone. Just paste the URL there and press enter, and it's cloning. It's downloading.
Nice. Glad you have some fast internet. Sometimes it can be a pain.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be quicker. This is not as quick as I thought. All right, so it's done. So I'm gonna do a quick change. Just gonna simulate as if I'm doing a contribution. So I'm just gonna look for this. I have it here. Laravel DFW1, because I already had one, but gonna open this on PHP Storm. And your contribution could be, well, I forgot. I should branch it, right? Uh, are we gonna accept pull requests to a develop branch, or are we gonna do like feature branches, Tanner?
I would say feature branches, yeah. So just feature
Okay.
slash whatever.
Right. So I believe that would be, you could run git. Um, well, I have to go into the repository here. One, and I do a git checkout, was it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I use the GUI app,
It's
so
git checkout -b.
Dash B, right?
and
Yeah,
then
so
just
For
do
branch, and then the name of the branch. So
like
I'm
features,
gonna do a new feature. I'm just gonna call it cool, my cool feature.
right?
There it is, and I can do git status, and you can see I'm on that branch. So right now, if I go to PHP Storm, I'm on that branch, so I can start making changes. And maybe, it doesn't have to be a whole feature. Maybe it's just you add a comment, or something, you fix a typo, whatever. I'm just gonna give you an example of, a little change.
Hey, I think there was one on the homepage actually. We could actually merge it in maybe. If you go to the view under resources.
Homepage, okay?
Yeah, I think, or actually, you know what? I'm forgetting
There's
which.
a missing semicolon here.
Yeah,
Little detail.
yeah.
But whatever. I made one little change. Excuse me. I'm gonna do git status, and you can see it detected that change, so I can just do git commit and do -m and write a message. Right? I made
I think
a
you'll need to
little
git add that first.
what?
Don't you need to git add that first?
Oh, that's correct. I need to add to the staging, right? So I'm just gonna do git add dot, which adds everything that's currently modified, and then I can do the commit. Thanks, Seth. And -m and the message, I changed something. There it is. And then I can do a git push origin master.
Well, you're on a
Well, it's
feature.
actually the branch, right? So I would have to do feature. Cool. I hope that works. Yep, it did. So I created a new branch on my remote fork. So if we refresh here, there it is, my feature. Cool. And this is really nice. GitHub immediately gives you, a quick shortcut to do a pull request. And so, is there a way to do? I mean, we will have to create a feature branch on our repository to accept one directly to it.
No, I think they could just do it onto master. I mean, we might want to do it onto like a develop branch, but for now we could just put it on
Yeah,
master because we could review it first and then,
we should have a develop branch then, maybe, or
do you want to create one really quick? You might have to do it in the terminal, but you can just throw it on master for now.
all right. So I'm just gonna finish the pull request here. So you can add some details, and it really helps to explain what happened, or what you did on your code, because some projects get a lot of pull requests, so you can just, it really helps to describe what you did.
Yeah.
Yay! So that's it. That's all I did. I create a pull request, and then the owners of the any of us can review your changes and have some comments for you to fix those, and write it here, and you'll get an email, and then you can fix your code if there's anything that needs to be fixed. But if it all looks good, we can just hit merge pull request, and we'll be accepting your changes.
Yeah, so why don't I just throw my screen up here and we can just look from my angle. So I'm looking here on Laravel DFW / Laravel DFW, and over on pull requests it looks like there's an open one from Oz where he changed something, which truthfully probably not the best title, but we can, might be like added a missing semicolon. because it breaks Google Maps or whatever it did. I don't
Yeah.
know if it actually broke Google Maps, but so it does that, and then so he's like, cool, you added a semicolon, and then I might go, okay, cool, I'm gonna look at it. So I'll go over to the files. Oh yeah, it looks like he did do that on that lat variable. And what's cool is that I could go, oh hey, um, thanks for adding the semicolon, but that was intentional. You know, whatever it may be. So, and then I can maybe like tag Oz in it. So there you go. So that'll be a line comment on line 16. It'll email Oz and let him know, and then he can come back and respond to this. And that actually goes into this pull request view in the conversation. So right here you can see on home.blade, I've made a comment, and then you can see the whole thread of this pull request. So if this is open for like 4 or 5 days, we could be going back and forth until it's ready to be merged. And then all we do is just hit merge, and then it's in the books. So GitHub's pretty awesome in that way.
I was going to say that I love that about GitHub. If there's anything that you use out there that's open sourced at all, go find it on GitHub and go read through some of that stuff, those conversations, pull requests. And there's just a ton of really good feedback, really good development techniques and tips that you can find just playing around in somebody else's GitHub repo. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's a couple of considerations that we'd like to talk through for future stuff. Oz, was there anything else that you wanted to add on Git or how we did the open source stuff before I move on?
Well, I would like to share one tip for Forge. It's a problem I encountered when I was switching the repository because it was under your account, and then when I switched, I basically went into the site on Forge and uninstalled it, and then reinstalled the repo, the new repo.
Right.
But the problem was that quick deploy stopped working, and the way the way that you do that, that you enable it, you have to go into your GitHub account settings, applications, and you have to authorize Laravel Forge, and then it should be all good. So that's all.
Okay. Yeah, that's important because I know sometimes the keys can be kind of weird and they may not sync right, so you do have to make sure that permissions are correct. So I guess kind of to close out this part of the talk, there's a couple of things that we want to do, and so if you have any ideas, send us an email, whatever you have, or just jump straight into GitHub and just like throw something up there. If you even just, hey, I don't really want this to go on the site, but I just want to test it, do that. Because I know that there's some people that aren't really sure, or maybe you're just a team of one, you've never collaborated with other people before. This is an opportunity just to kind of play around and learn how to work with more than one person on a team. So for future considerations, we want to integrate with the Meetup API. So let me just jog over there really quick so you can see what I mean. So over on meetup.com, let me go to Meetup actually. Meetup.com is where we host our actual events, and you can RSVP. It does a lot of great stuff there. So this is the event for today, how we upgraded to Laravel 5, use GitHub, and autodeploy with Forge. So we're like, well, it would just be great if we could pull from this. So if we go look over at the Meetup API, they have documentation here on how to do all of this. So for events, you can pull an event by the ID. Let's see here. Get events, and it'll list it. Here's all the parameters that you can pass and the things that you'll get back in the response. And so it's really great. So one of the things that we want to do is just pull stuff straight from there. Hey, it would be even cool like to do like an RSVP count that just says, hey, 7 people are RSVP'd, just so it's all dynamic, because right now, again, we go and edit this one routes file over here on the repo. Let's see, apps, HTTP, routes, boom, there you go. So making all of this stuff dynamic, that would be really cool. So if you want to mess with that, hey, have a go at it. Here's the link. I think all you have to do is create an API key. So whenever you jump over here, as long as you have an account, it'll give you this, and I think you click this lock and it'll show you it. So just mess around with it. That's one thing that we want to do. So if you have any ideas for that or other things, definitely jump in. Um, we also kind of want to host the meetups and talks on their own pages. So it could be like laraveldfw.com/events/1/2/3/4, whatever it is. Maybe we throw a slug in there that's like, Oz, and then the talk name, just so that it has some SEO value. So that's another one. Just getting involved on new features. If you have a feature, send it over. So those are all connected to the site. So just jump on in. We're probably going to mess around with Meetup too. We just want it to be kind of a collaboration ground. Really, one of the main reasons we put the site on GitHub was so that you can see it. You can see something in the wild. Hey, here's a public app. Here's where you can look at stuff. I think Laravel.io does this as well, maybe, where they open source all of their stuff. If you've never seen Laravel.io, I believe that's on our website too. If you go to laraveldfw.com, there's a bunch of resources at the top, and yeah, Laravel.io is on there as well. So just check out some apps that are already built, because if you have questions on it, sometimes it's easiest just to see a final product and see how people approached their problems. So last thing that's kind of unrelated to the site, we did launch a Laravel DFW Slack. Oz and Seth and I have been kind of messing around on it and messaging each other for a little bit, and I think it's going to be great. So the way to get onto the Slack is for you to email us at talk@laraveldfw.com. So please email us there, so that we can get your email. And actually, I'm trying to think now. You could just also just message us. So hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Meetup. But we need your email address to add you to that. Slack doesn't allow for like mass invites or anything. So if you want to get in on that, just let one of us know. You can also reach out to me at tanner.hearn@gmail.com. But other than that, let's see if we have any questions, guys. Did you guys have any closing thoughts? I'm going to check the message bin here.
No, I was just going to say, so it sounds like we got 3 takeaway here. 1, fork the repo. Like, seriously, just fork the Laravel DFW repo. Even if you don't do anything with it, at least fork it. And then maybe you'll get some inspiration, and we'd appreciate it. 2, sign up for Forge. Use that coupon, get 3 months free. 3, hit us up so we can get you on Slack, and we can talk about all these things. If you're like, I really want to fork the repo, but I don't know what I'm doing, we'll walk you through it. We'll give you the answers that you need. We're here to help you. We're doing this stuff. I do it, very little, totally on the side. I'm a development manager, but I run a Perl shop. Most of the guys that are my direct reports are JavaScript developers, so there's like no PHP happening in my day job. And I think that's true of a lot of Laravel adopters. And so, I'm learning this as I go, and participating in the Laravel group, DFW group, has been a huge help. And we have that same attitude. We want to reach out, we want to participate. We're not trying to be co-organized so that we're somebodies. We want to serve you guys and help you get excited about what Laravel has to offer. And so the decision to open source the Laravel DFW.com site was, well, let's give you a place where you have a playground to work on. Get you introduced to collaborating with teams if you haven't, get you introduced to version control if you haven't, get you introduced to doing stuff with Laravel if you haven't. So just do it, man. Fork the repo, get on Slack, and let's have some dialogue and conversations between these monthly meetings to get you really amped up about Laravel and up in your game in development.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. So It looks like I don't see any questions coming in. So if you have a question, go to the website laraveldfw.com and send it in. Let me just check my phone. If there's anything on Twitter, let's see. If there's not, then I guess we can just ask ourselves questions. Let's see here. I don't see any. So, okay. Well, I'll ask one question, and then I guess we can close it out if nobody else has any. So, what is something cool that you've done with Laravel recently? I can answer first. We did a cool kind of integration with two sites that allowed us to handle some user counts. It was pretty cool. Oz, what about you?
Well, let me see. Out of all the things, well, one thing I'm excited about is using Laravel with Pusher for real-time applications and Angular, and just seeing, interacting with an application and just seeing the changes live across different browsers or different devices. So I'm experimenting a lot with that.
That's cool. Seth, what about you, man?
So playing with Laravel for the first time, I rewrote kind of an admin control panel for a client of mine from years ago, putting it in Laravel. It's on 4.2. And they hit me up. They had an issue, production bug, and like I hardly have any bandwidth for time. It was like, oh, I gotta look at this issue. So I just got online, pulled it up, and it was literally like a 2-line fix. Push that code, deploy it, and done. And they're all ecstatic that
Right.
I was able to take care of it that quick. And for me, I was ecstatic because I hadn't looked at that site in 6 months. I did it in 4.2 6 months ago, and it took me literally about a half an hour to fix an issue that was a major problem for them. It was like this edge case bug, but the maintenance of that, hands down, super easy being on Laravel, even version 4.
Right. Well, that's cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for this week's meetup. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check us out on our website, laraveldfw.com, and our Twitter handle is at laraveldfw. You can also join us in the Laravel DFW Slack by, again, just tweet at us. We'll follow you or whatever, and we can do private messaging. I think Twitter just opened up to where you can just like send private messages or something. So anyways, we'll figure it out. You know how to get in touch with us. We're all on Twitter. If you want in the Slack, do it. It's really cool because we can just talk during the day. If we're like, hey, did you see this? Or hey, I have a question about this. It's really nice to be able to just, throw things back and forth. So yeah, and you can get help on your projects for that. Next month we'll meet in person. So if you're in the DFW area, be sure to check us out. We'll have some stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks about that. Again, it's the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. We normally meet at like a restaurant where we can all hang out and talk about stuff. We do the talks online. When we meet in person, we just like to talk about what stuff people are doing, talk about the news, talk about what's coming out and what's been easy. Last month we were talking a lot about Spark. A couple people hadn't heard about it, and it's such a cool. There's just so many new things coming out that's really cool. So, do you guys have any closing comments, and then we can peace out?
Make art, artisans.
All right. Thank you guys. See you later.